Hello everyone, and welcome to another interview about a staff book publication. In this video we are talking with Karin van Es, who is a media and performance study lecturer at the University of Utrecht. Karin published a book about a well-known phenomenon within media studies, liveness. And today we will talk with Karin about her book, The Future of Live, and more about her interests within the media and performance field. So thank you, Karin, for your time to have a chat. I hope you are well. How are you keeping yourself busy during these times?
There's enough to do. There's always enough to do with teaching and research, even in these times.
Could you maybe tell a bit more about yourself and your position at Utrecht University?
Sure. My name is Karin van Es. As you know, I'm an assistant professor within the Media and Culture department. I actually did my master program in Utrecht as well. I did both the film and television studies and the new media program, master program. And I think that really kind of defines also the research I'm still interested in. It's kind of the intersection of television studies and new media studies. So aside from teaching and researching, I'm also associated with the Utrecht Data School, where we're researching the datafication of society and doing research with empirical data.
Could you maybe tell me a bit more about the data research school?
It started out simply because my colleague Mirko and one of the master students in the new media program were actually quite, well, not upset, but they were kind of disappointed that there was no place within the programs yet for doing data research. So they wanted to set up a course, but it's very intense type of teaching, because it's a lot of tutorials and so forth in softwares and tools that you use. So the university could only finance part of that. So they went out and looked for questions within society and companies or public institutions that were dealing with data questions, and they asked them if they would be interested to collaborate. So what ended up coming from that is a kind of practical course in which students in the first 10 weeks learn basic skills in data collection and data cleaning and so forth. And then in the second part, they actually conduct an applied research project for, well, whatever partner is collaborating with us at the time. Yeah.
So I read that you also do data walks within your courses.
So what we do, or what I learned from colleagues at London School of Economics, they had these data walks. And I thought that was a very nice activity to involve or to relate datafication to everyday life. So it's actually going out in small groups of about 5 students or participants, and then you actually actively observe and reflect on data in the environment, and you raise questions, and you think through, what is data, how is data collected, who is collecting, what influence does that have, and what kind of biases might be part of that as well. So it's just I think a fun but also a very educational activity in which you engage and talk with students about how they experience also.
Yeah, actually, we were going to talk about your book as well, The Future of Liveness, or Future of Life, sorry. You brought that out in 2016. But could you tell me shortly about what the message of the book is, and how do you understand the term liveness?
So I spent a couple of years kind of thinking through what is this notion of live? There's a lot of media that claim to be live. I think traditionally a lot of students and people just generally associate it with television, live television, or maybe an older generation radio, but primarily it's been the concept has been of theoretical interest to media scholars or television scholars in particular. So what I was kind of grappling with myself, kind of struggling with, just was how increasingly we see a lot of newer media make claims to being live. So you have Facebook, you have YouTube, you have what are all these other apps and so forth. They have aspects of their platform that that play with this idea of we are live. Twitter, of course, per definition, is always kind of discussed as the live medium, right? It's the news now and not later. And Snapchat, of course, and Instagram also has live stories. So there was a lot of sudden interest in liveness. So that raised two questions for me, two fundamental questions. Like one, why are we seeing all of a sudden such an increase in this idea of live? And if it was always seen as the property of television, liveness, how is it that it can be so easily adapted to other media? So that must say something about the fact that liveness, as we kind of thought, right, as a property of television, something else is going on. How can we understand liveness?
Yeah.
So then you start reading a lot, and then you start noticing within what I was reading that there were kind of three different ways of approaching live in theory. And the one was indeed very much based on thinking of liveness as a property of technology, so something inherent to television. The medium itself is live. The other kind of thread was that liveness was something an experience, something you felt as an audience. So you're watching something and it feels live. So it was more about how the media was experienced. And then there's another strand of writing that really emphasizes liveness as industry rhetoric, so to speak. So just how things are advertised, right? So it's just as a way to make your media more special than others. Just label it live because people think then it's important.
Yeah.
So what I've done in my book, I kind of approach liveness not so much as one of these things, but as the interaction between technology, audiences, and industries. Liveness also has a social aspect, a social dimension. It's not just about real time, it's also about sharing it with others. So if you think of YouTube, if you're watching YouTube, or if you're just playing back a video, then you see how many people viewed it, right? You have this view. But if you're on a live stream on YouTube, you all of a sudden have also the chat function. And then you see live how many people are watching now. So the emphasis on the temporal aspect, but then also the ability to interact with other people. So it becomes a collective experience. So it's also about the fact that other people are there too. Now we see that a lot. We have with our prime minister, who does his little talks every once in a couple of weeks to update us about the corona situation, and these have record viewer amounts at the moment. Everyone feels they must see that. It's about what's at stake in society. But you also now have extensions for your Netflix, so you can actually chat together during watching collectively Netflix. And I saw NPO Start has also introduced that now, so you can watch together. So there's a lot of, as we engage in physical distancing, there's a lot of need for social feeling of social connectedness. And I think it's interesting how these live media kind of play into that at the moment.
I was wondering if you also have other current projects that you would like to talk about, or maybe is there another book coming out soon? Or
I think one of the most important topics I think we at the Data School are very interested in, and I think that's become increasingly important in this time as well, has to do with this notion of what we call tool criticism. So that has to do with in a lot of the research we see done within the field of digital humanities or computational research, we often notice how sometimes in research, and also a lot of times in like the public discourse, people always see data as something objective and neutral. So what we're trying to do is raise kind of awareness and a critical stance towards the fact that the tools we use, right, the software, that even something as simple as Excel impacts our research, the kind of knowledge we generate. We all kind of think when we do a word count on our computers that we all get the same results. But if you use different programs, if you use your Word, or you use Notepad, or you use Google Docs, if you do word counts, you actually get different word counts. And that has to do with the underlying code and how that counts what counts as a word. I think it's just a nice example to show how understanding that when you're working with tools and creating insights actually impacts what it is we know and how we know things.
Is there anything else you would like to share with the viewers?
I was extremely impressed with how students were able to cope in the transition to online. And I think it's very encouraging to see so many students through these Microsoft Teams and Zoom experiences. And there's also something kind of interesting and nice about coming into the homes of students and engaging with them in a different way. But at the end of the day, we also lose a lot when we go online. And I think everyone's looking very much forward to seeing each other face to face again and kind of having that casual talk after classes. And let's just hope that very soon we can all meet up again in Utrecht in one of our coffee places or wherever we run into each other, because yeah, although this is going actually better than I expected, this online teaching, I think we're starting to notice what we're missing when we don't see each other face to face.
Yeah,
right?
very true.
In live.
Yeah, I wish we could have done this interview in real life too, but that's just how it is now. Well, thank you very much for talking to me. And yeah, I hope to see you in the future.
In real life, yeah.
Yeah.